Well, I'm going to start off with the first question, and then we'll let you guys answer any questions you may have. But I know that we've been talking. You have been talking a lot about culture, and you have been talking a lot about this whole leadership, dominion kind of a thing. And I really want to ask you. You know, my question today for you was how do you continue to raise more leaders without the leaders who you raised get intimidated? How do you raise more leaders as you do without your current leaders getting intimidated by the leaders you're raising?
So the first thing you got to do is say, why are they getting intimidated? So again, I think the problem we do is in leadership is we look at the surface problem, but we don't find out the fungus that's at the root. So I would say the problem with that, which is human nature, is one of value, one of understanding what we're trying to achieve. No, so like we've said this morning, not looking at what's taking place, but what's the purpose behind what's taking place. Because if we just look at the visuals, we're never going to do it. So what I would do in a situation, and we've had that, and do have that, is go, are we in this thing because we want to bring the greatest kingdom purpose? And so what would be some of the roadblocks for that to happen? One of the big roadblocks is that we've all got insecurity. So therefore, our value is gained from our appointment. And so then what we're able to achieve in that appointment is where we get our value from. Now, we're still human, so we all like it when it's going well and we're doing a great job. But our value cannot be based in the things we do. It's got to be based in who we are before God. So therefore, if it's better for the mission of this place, for you who've been serving 20 years in that position, and somebody else comes along that's got a greater grace or capacity, would you serve them with the years of understanding to help them not have to relearn that all, but also allow them to take it to a new level? You know, there's a statement I often use in leadership. You got to paint the picture before you tell the story. So we're dealing with the problem by trying to convince people there, but we've never caused them to see it before we've tried to articulate it. So when you understand that's a major problem in raising up new leaders who've got the fire, they've got possibly a greater capacity. And so I'll teach something like this. Okay, we are all dispensable. We think we're indispensable, but God's going to build his church. We've all got a season to do what we're here to do. Let's take Mary over here, who from the beginning of life has been looking after the kids ministry and growing it to 50 people. But ever since it got to 50 people, Mary is spinning out because it's just like, it's all, oh man, I don't know if I can do all of this. But she's actually, Mary, she's the kids pastor. She's the champion. Everybody said she's the champion. You've got to go to Matthew 25, which talks about those that were given gifts. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 5. And so we've taught, again, faithfulness is to do with loyalty. It's wrong. It's one part of the answer. If you read the parable, yes, they were loyal. But actually, I'd argue the one with one, by the way, who went to where it was weeping and gnashing of teeth, was loyal. Because they got one, they were loyal, they returned one. It's not just about loyalty, it's about fruitfulness. So we need loyalty, but we need fruitfulness. They're the two ingredients that cause somebody to be faithful. Well done, good and faithful servant, the one with 2 that got another 2. Well done, good, faithful servant, the one that had 5 that got 5. Hey, so if we're in a position and we can't take what we have and cause it to double, we're not being faithful with it. And so if we've hit our ceiling, don't be insecure in the fact that somebody else is now going to take that. No, we're going to actually now champion those with a greater capacity. And so you've got to give them value, if they can't find it themselves, in the second role. That's why there's no fathers in the faith. Very few. Because again, their value has come from their current activity. And we don't know how to value them. They don't know how to value themselves. And so then to change gear and now have a different role, that's why there's very little grandparenting, fathering, and mothering going on in the house of God. Because everybody goes, blows out, and we push the reset button and we start again. And we've got to actually learn to do it differently. So how do we cause leaders that are in, we've actually got to teach them before the new leaders are on the horizon, this is only going to be for a season. And this is what we're looking for, something that God's going to bring, someone that God's going to bring to help propel it to another level. So I think we heard it from the mayor. If I'm not the one to do this, hey, let's get the one who's prepared to take this to another level, and then I will blow wind into their sails. But that level of insecurity, that level of wrong value base is what's stopping us, and therefore we're holding it back. So, again, Isaiah 60 verse 3, I think it is, it's so kings will come to the rising of your brightness. Oh, we need big leaders in our ministry. We're praying bigger people that haven't got all the problems, got big attitudes. No, baby, you're not ready for that because you haven't got the ability to make the space for another eagle. Because you want to clip their wings so they look like a dove, but you want the outcome of an eagle. So can you imagine if we had a few eagles flapping together, the uplift we'd have? And it's kind of like we've got to just change the way that we're thinking. So it's not just training the leaders. Here they are. I want them to do it. Dumb. All of those other great people. Come on, they need to go on to the next phase. Surely the kingdom should be a lot better than what it is right now. This is how it happens with senior pastors. You give everything, you flow, you build something, God does something amazing, you give it all. It's all on, then it's all off. It's the same in government, it's the same everywhere else. It's kind of like, could you imagine what we could do if we all stayed in our right zone in the right season? There is a time for you to be the builder. There is the time for you to resource what you've learned into the builders that are there for this next stage.
Unreal, man. Questions? Josiah, you have a question?
Pastor Paul, question would be, you have the benefit of being from New Zealand, seeing the American church. So would you speak to what you see, kind of like fresh eyes? Speak to the American church. What would you see some dangers, some things that you can speak to? And I'm kind of asking to speak on a level of all of us, not specific but to one church, but the church that you feel kind of needs to be, so we can have dominion.
You really want me to do that?
I want you to do it. Yes.
All right, Josiah. Again, I think like any country, you have pockets of very incredible difference. So you can't make a complete generalization. I think one of the sad things I'd see in America, America's got a lot to teach us. I love the American spirit in the church, and just the American spirit. They champion champions. In our world, predominantly, it's starting to change now, is we'd pull the champion down because it exposes our weakness. So we've had to address that. I think in the church in America, this is what's happened. From an outside looking in, I've been in the church my whole life. God has raised up incredible gifts that have focused very much and only on their gift. And there's been some shipwrecks. And some of those shipwrecks are attributed to they were never meant to carry the enormity or the weight of their gift isolated. Just because you got the gift and you've got a grace for that gift does not mean you have the ability to last long term. Because that gift is one piece of the jigsaw puzzle in the whole picture. So if you're not connected and your color is actually matching others close around you, you're isolated. So then the younger generation are going, well, it's all about denominations or, these big megastones. Look, some of those fell in that. Man, you know what I mean? We don't know what to do, and you know what I mean? People are ripping people off and, jumping and taking ministry, so we're just going to forge our own way. And I can honestly say this, hand on heart, we've got a lot of things we're working on, a lot of things not right. I got at least, and I think Marie would say amen to that, we would have at least 50 other pastors. I wouldn't even think twice to take 3 months off in our church and let them come and preach. If they had the time, they could come and preach in our church. I wouldn't even sweat one drop. They don't have to lead it, they don't have to create vision, but they could come. People that I know would have our hearts and build the church. So it's a great security. Coming to America, this is going back a few years. Everybody in their little wee socket. People are ripping people off on their own teams. Come on, we got no authority lines that are healthy. If there is authority, they're going to control it all. Whereas what we need is we need authority figures, spiritual authority figures that have the heart of the Father. They realize you've grown up. You've got your own surname. You've got a right to make your own decisions, but we're there to help you. So again, the denominations haven't really worked because, again, they've been location-based, not spirit-based. They began with spirit, but they ended up, oh, well, we voted into that. That's what we'll always be. It's kind of like, and now we've got a generation of young people going, we're selling out for God. But if you don't have an upline that can speak as a father into you, and you have a downline that you're actually helping multiply what you've been fruitful in, we don't see the dominion thing. So that's what I see in America. Is I think America, Marie will tell me off. I think Americans are going, yeah, great, Pastor, yeah, we're all in. But it's like, how come that's never followed through? So we're up there on the front. Asian culture, very much, spent a lot of years in Asia. Do an altar call where it's kind of, somebody has to expose themselves. They want to be there, but they can't lose face. So it's part of our culture. It's like we've actually got to get past that and go, you know what, we need something that, again, rightly accountable, not to be controlled, but rightly accountable. And we've got to have that flow through to others. Then we'll see this dominion thing beginning to take place.
Beautiful, man. Pastor, right here.
Thank Pastor Paul for the great revelation. 2 questions. One, how do you locate the kings that are in your ministry? 2, and how do you build an environment that is conducive for them to flourish?
Good question. You know, if we go back to the Isaiah 60, kings will come. So I don't think it's hard to locate a king. A king has a kingdom. So you identify kings, not wannabe kings. Kings are people that have people. Kings have people that they are under their influence. They might be people, again, you know, in the political world, the people in the business community, the people, whatever, they're able to run a kingdom. That's who they are. So I think that's what we do. How do we build kings? It's like eagles. How do you, when all you've been doing is flying with turkeys, and then you got another eagle, you got to think differently. It's kind of like, okay, well, how will we do them? As I said, then we've got to keep rising. I've got to keep changing my mindset. I've got to keep learning how kings live, what kings need. So when you've got a king who's coming, might be a financial king, they're actually done very well in business, totally committed to the vision, totally of one spirit, no strings attached, it's just like that. And they're going, you know, I feel bad all the time because, you know, I'm out in town doing all my business stuff, all of that. I say, yeah, but you're here whenever you're here. It's kind of like, that's okay. And then you've got to understand what they need too is stuff for their businesses that's going to help them grow their businesses. So are you speaking their language? We aren't to prioritize people with influence over those who don't have influence. So if you're somebody that, again, oh, they got money, so we're going to bring them to the front, that's the wrong thing to do. But what you do need to learn is everybody has a language. So if you call me to go and reach Russia for Christ, I'm going to have to learn Russian. If you want kings in your ministry, you're going to have to speak king. Insecurity is not their speech. Judgment is not their speech. Come on, you've got to learn to get big enough. You will only attract people that can fit under your wing. So if your wing is not that big, you're not going to get them. And then secondly, very few people attract peers and people beyond themselves. But that grace still to lead it. I believe the church should exemplify people that have bigger people than the senior leader, and they give them room to fly. Because again, leadership is not about I connive together. If you connive, oh, I'm going to start a church because I'm a rebellion to that, oh, good on you. Wouldn't want to be where you are. You need to be called to do that. And then you've got to be able to have that space to allow people to be who they are. But again, it still comes down to spirit. Come on. Don't have a king as a part of what you're doing if they don't embrace the culture of the spirit and understand who God's called to lead. Because if you have to sell out to a king to keep them, man, they gave us some money, and I know now they want to say, you know what? The leadership's just changed from you to them.
Hello.
Strings attached,
Come
going to
on.
bring a different spirit.
Come on, man. Question? Go ahead, my man.
Oh, thank you. Pastor Paul, earlier when talking about culture, you said culture defines your attractiveness. And you said the more you dilute your culture, the more you attract diversity. Speak to that for me, because you had something negative at the end. I didn't quite catch that.
Well, the thing is, as I said, from my pathway to here is I knew what we were and who we are, and that became clearer and clearer. But then I would accommodate things that were outside of that. And I could keep people happy because I'm a pastoral heart. So I would compensate on their behalf to keep them in the fold. But actually, the more that happened, the more I had to compensate. Okay. So it's like somebody that started the church with us said to me 15 years into it, what's happened to our relationship? I go, what do you mean? You know, when we started, we were coming as a family. We had so much time together. And I said, yeah, we did, but it wasn't as many people as now, of course. Yeah, but something changed, and I never get time with you. And so I said to them this will help you understand it. I said, because this is what you do in leadership, you paint a picture before you tell the story. I said, you know how I really challenged you a few years after that about some of your attitudes? And again, I'm not telling you what to do, but you still go on about the same old things. Here's how it's working. Back then we were walking. Now I'm running. You made a decision to keep walking. If you want time with me, you're going to have to run at the pace I'm running at. Because if you run, we might not be able to talk a lot while we're running, but we'll have conversation. So for you, you made a choice. So that's what I would say. So we dilute the culture of what we believe is right to accommodate, but we're actually accommodating something that doesn't want what we want. So then again, everybody that touches them and it is their world, they're promoting what they feel. So you'd be better to have them in love. Go and find. If you're always unhappy here, we're not perfect, but go. Don't live your life not being happy. There's enough crisis in our lives apart from not being happy all the time. Go and be happy. Oh yeah, well I've been in every other church and I don't like them. Yeah, who's the problem? Start your own church and see if anybody comes. In fact, there'll be a few unhappy people, but then it'll all fall apart in a few months anyway. But you know, that's what I've had to learn. It's kind of like, I was so overt. So I'm talking now, I sound hard, but I'm talking, I lived 15 years. I had somebody on staff for 10 years longer than they should have been because I kept compensating. Then when it blew up, it wasn't their fault, it was my fault. Should have addressed that core issue a long time ago.
Wow.